So I am Titania Jordan, Chief Parenting Officer at Bark Technologies, which is tech that helps protect over 6.5 million children now across the globe by using artificial intelligence to scan social media, text, email, flag for dangers, dangerous people, dangerous content, and then send alerts to parents, caregivers, school administrators when an adult needs to step in and help out the child. It's incredible the impact that we've been able to have without being overbearing. What Bark does not do is just give full unfettered access to your cell phone, right? Like it's not like a spying app where parents are reading every text and every DM and everything. It's just parsing out the dangers and then sending the alerts. And the lives we've saved, the suicidal ideation that we have flagged before it became a reality, the school shooting threats, the predators we have caught, it's staggering.
It's so great to have you here today. I want to talk to you today about some TikTok trends that are happening. Today, I also want to talk to you a little bit about what can students do instead of parents giving them a full-fledged phone. We're going to call it a Ferrari today, rather than going from a bicycle, which might be, an iPad or something, all the way to a Ferrari, which is a $1,000, $1,200. I feel like they're getting more expensive iPhone. And God bless iPhone, they're fantastic, and Android. I want to talk with you, in the middle here, a little bit about a solution that you all have that we support, which I call it the training wheels of the world, to get students access to something pretty awesome. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then I want to get some of your mom tips, because, we crave that whole, how do you... we think that one of the best safety solutions, while Bark is terrific, the best safety solution is that rich dialogue that you have with your kiddos, right?
Absolutely.
And I know that Bark agrees with that. It's first, people first, and the tech is the icing on the cake, but not the whole cake. Let's dive on in first and foremost. Talk to us a little bit about what are some ways, if you have any, what are some ways that students can use TikTok with their parents in a fun and productive way to bring the family together?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that because tech is a tool. It's neither good nor bad, but it is a tool that can be used for good and also not so good. So if you'd like to enjoy TikTok as a family, fabulous. Note a few things. One is it is very addictive. They have a very powerful algorithm. And so make sure you're being intentional about the time that you are spending on it, right? Because it's very easy to think, oh, I'm just going to swipe a couple videos and maybe try a dance and then bounce, and then it's been 2 hours. And that's not what you need to be doing with your life. The next tip I would say is parents, caregivers, kids, make sure you're doing it together. Teens don't need to be, in their bedrooms, 2 a.m., just mindlessly scrolling and not sleeping and falling down algorithmic rabbit holes that are not good for you. But you can, jump on the latest, the latest sound, dance challenge, creative recipe, whatever. Like there's a lot of fun and a lot of good that you can do it, but do it together. Make it just like a family game night thing, except instead of a board game, it's TikTok, but then put it away. Parents, I would say that if you have it on your phone, great. Enjoy it with your child that way. Don't let them have it on their phone right away because that's inherently dangerous. And one of the downsides of TikTok is that while they purport having parental controls, it's really, really fluffy, very smoke and mirrors because your child can unconnect it at any time. And you as the parent don't have to give it permission. Your kid can just say, yeah, I don't want to be connected to my parents' account anymore. And they can unconnect it. And then you cannot do anything about it. So you can do better about that, TikTok.
I'm not getting paid by Bark or TikTok or anybody else, but we only get paid by school districts and parents. But we do believe Bark has a heart in providing the tools to build that dialogue, closeness with students, and do it in a way that's productive. TikTok is a scary one. For those of you listening or watching us right now, I want to give you just a quick little background. While I love my friends in Shanghai, our U.S. government and big companies like Amazon, they do not trust having that app on their employees' phones, federal government officials' phones, because ByteDance owns TikTok. And we're just going to be really clear here right now, and there's nothing against people who work for TikTok. They're terrific people. But ByteDance, based overseas in China, owns TikTok. And ByteDance, as with many Chinese-based companies, it has a portion of their shares that they have given to the Chinese government, or the Chinese government purchased from them. And therefore, in the terms of service, if you watch one of our TikTok app guides at smartsocial.com, I go through all their safety, security, and privacy issues step by step, the biggest ones you need to know about as a parent. And it says we have the right to share data with third parties, all of your students' data, including this list of how fast they type, what their typing movements are, their rhythmic, all this stuff, where they click, what other devices might be on the network. And they say that might include partners outside of the United States of America. So that's what the government is afraid of, and they have reason to believe that. And so we just want to be a little bit careful there. Not only is it the most popular app in the world right now, plus or minus, different weeks, different trends, but also it's a place where students go. And as Titania just said, minutes turn into hours. This is what we find out from students. But in addition, there's this whole security thing that is the elephant in the room that everyone wants to talk about. So I want you to know about that. We're not saying it's super safe for you to put anything personally identifiable on, but if you want to learn a dance move or two as a family, it's a start if it's a place where your kids want to go. All right, Titania, next question for you. How do you think teens are using it, if at all, to build connections with real people, with real family members? Are there in-person, in real-life connections that students can build on this app we call TikTok?
It is possible. I would say Snapchat is probably where those in real-life communications are being furthered because of the nature of it. You know, with TikTok, it is more produced, and children are leaving comments on other people's profiles, and even just the ability to follow someone or not, if they have a private or public account, you know, lots of nuances. But TikTok is more of a public-facing performant platform where children can express their interest, share things that they that care about or they think are cool, express themselves. Whereas Snapchat is more of a day-to-day, here's literally where I am on the Snap map, and here's literally what I'm looking at, and it doesn't have to be highly polished or have an audio overlay or a filter.
Yeah, so true. Parents that are listening or watching this, or educators, Snap Map is a little feature inside of Snapchat that gives your students live updates on a map that all of their followers, friends, whatever you want to call it on Snap is the name of the app, but all of us old people call it Snapchat, as it used to be called. But there is a map, a geolocation, that they make it cool so that you can share with your followers. The problem is sometimes it will share where you live, and then random people follow. So just be aware of that. There is a way to go in and turn it off. Once again, that rich dialogue with your kiddos is going to be the thing to really get the students thinking about, do you want to share your location with everybody? Our professional suggestion at SmartSocial is turn that off. You can use, if you have an iPhone, you can use the Find My Family, Find My Friends feature. Okay, the next question. I'm glad you're here today, by the way. It's so refreshing. You guys are doing such great work at Bark, all that you're doing. How safe do you feel TikTok might be for teens and tweens, if safe at all? What safety measures might you recommend parents put in place before giving their students access to an app like TikTok?
Excellent question. Probably one of the most important questions that you and I will discuss today. I'm first pulling up Bark's annual report. Every year we compile anonymized data from the apps and accounts that we have connected to. And over 2022, we analyzed more than 4.5 billion messages across text, email, YouTube, 30 plus apps and social media platforms, including TikTok. And so I'm going to tell you just how dangerous TikTok is. I'm scrolling down to our top apps for concerning content in 2022. And the top 5 apps flagged for severe suicidal ideation, TikTok was number 4 out of 5. For body image concerns, TikTok was also on that list. For severe bullying, TikTok was also on that list. For severe violence, TikTok also there. So, is it a fun place? Is it an engaging place? Absolutely. Are there dangers there? You better believe it. You know, what elicits engagement is not always positive. TikTok's goal, regardless of who is on the app, whether they're 9 or 99, is to keep those eyeballs in the app, to keep you in the app as long as possible. So it's going to continue to serve things that it thinks you want to see, regardless of if they're wholesome or not. So TikTok, not safe for kids. Not safe for kids at all, which is why it needs to be enjoyed with parental supervision. If your child is going to be allowed to have TikTok, I would say make sure there are time limits and that you are letting them enjoy that experience in a public place like your living room versus a bedroom behind closed doors. And even consider the Bark smartphone, which can monitor TikTok and is one of the rare platforms that actually can monitor TikTok. TikTok hasn't opened their platform to third-party monitoring platforms, and that's a big miss on their part.
Yeah, let's pause for just a sec. I have you here today representing Bark talking about these apps, but you have a phone that we just can't avoid, and I don't have one of them on me. This isn't a paid sponsorship, but I think it's important to all the parents that are watching right now. If you're struggling with, okay, my kid's got an iPad at home and I'm monitoring it, or they borrowed my phone for a little while, we're going to call that the bicycle. But we can go straight to the Bentley, which is buying them this Ferrari, if you will, that goes 200 miles an hour. That's like, yikes, connecting them with a few billion people in the world. And I don't want to sound negative and scary, because Titania and I understand the internet. We really dive into it to really understand and dig deep into what are the sources of this, what's going on. We're not here to scare you. We're not here to use buzzwords. But we just want to let you know that there are solutions out there. The Bark phone is a great one that is really what I call the Buick, which is right in the middle. It's not the bicycle. It's not the Bentley. It's the Buick. It's kind of nerdy. I have light, bright, and polite, and all these other tools. It's a solution that has training wheels. Think of it if you were to teach your kid how to drive, but you first put them in a little golf cart. There it is. Part of the phones, if you will. It's fast, it's powerful, but it's a fun way to get to know it together as a family so you can do all these features. We didn't plan this, but tell me a little bit about the Bark phone, a few of the features. Give me some of the bullets.
Sure, yeah. So the Bark phone is an Android phone. It's a Samsung A13. It has Bark built in to it. So if you don't have the Bark phone and your child has an iPhone or an Android and you want to monitor it with Bark, you're going to have to add Bark to it. The Bark phone has it built in. So you go and order the Bark phone. It comes ready and safe for you, for your child. Another cool thing about the Bark phone is that from your phone, from your parent's smartphone, you open the Bark app and you can control the Bark phone remotely, which is awesome. I'm pulling my Bark app up now and I'm going to the Bark phone and I can just, let's see, we go, whether it's controlling text, contacts, camera, time limits, you just want to pause the internet, you just want that easy button, pause, boom, from the phone. It's a great first phone for kids. It's a great phone for older kids too because it doesn't look juvenile. It's a sleek phone. You can let your child have as much or as little access as you want. And if you've made a mistake, either giving too much or not enough, you can change that.
Yeah, which is really important. A little side note, we hear from a lot of parents and the psychologists we have on the podcast. Parents, we want to give you the opportunity to realize, and we're here to reassure you of the things you already know. If you've given your kids full access to the highway with that Ferrari, if you will, it is perfectly fine, from what we're hearing from licensed psychologists, therapists, counselors, to say, you know what, son or daughter, I may have messed up. We may have moved into this a little too quickly. Mom or dad, might have jumped in this a little quickly. This is a really fast-moving thing. I'd like for us to work together to figure out what our next step is. How do we reel this back in so that we as a family can make our decisions together and be a team? And we're hearing that overwhelmingly from psychologists on it's okay to admit that you're wrong, show that vulnerability to your students. So just a little bit of a side note. Okay, let's dive into the next question if you don't mind. I love that. Here's what parents are going to have questions. I can already see it. Can I control the Bark phone from my iPhone and my Android, or do I have to have one or the other? Does the Bark app work on both?
Yes. So you can control the Bark phone from a desktop computer, from a URL, from an app, from a laptop, from an iPad, from an iPhone, from an Android phone. Yes, all of the above. You can control the Bark phone and the Bark app from a variety of places.
We get a lot of questions from people. I've bought my kids this type of phone, but I have this type. Can I? So what you're providing is a resource that's going to work for just about every family. Terrific. So let's dive into my next question. What do you think the appeal is of TikTok challenges? What are the major risks that you see associated with them?
Wow. You know, I have spoken to some of the major media outlets, Today Show, Good Morning America, you name it, about these TikTok challenges that you just don't think your child would involve themselves in until they do. Because good kids make bad choices and their prefrontal cortex, decision making part of their brain, is not fully formed until they're in their early 20s. So, whether it's the choking challenge, where, they think they're just going to pass out, but it could lead to end of life, to the Tide Pod challenge, to the blue whale challenge. I mean, there are so many challenges. Even there's I forget the name of it, but it's basically a really, really spicy chip challenge. And I was talking to my son about it, and I was like, can you believe people? And he was like, oh, I did that. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I am who I am, and we've had these conversations, and you still did that. But children are, as my friend Chris McKenna, our friend Chris McKenna of Protect Young Eyes, says in the documentary Childhood 2.0, which everybody should see. It's free. What children see, they feel psychologically compelled to do. Children are very smart. They know what gets engagement. It's outrage. It's showmanship. If you are pushing the envelope, you will get more engagement, you'll get more likes, you'll get more followers. And we need to help children understand that what's important in life, it's what's inside that counts. But seriously, following and engagement is not the currency that we need to be judged by or base our self-esteem on. And unfortunately, we have an uphill battle trying to communicate that.
Yeah. And so many students that we hear about, all of us adults as a child, we all heard, hey, it's quality over quantity. But when it comes to social media, it is quantity. And when we've all seen Snapchat, parents, if you don't know, there's this little thing called Snap Streaks. And Snap Streaks is a thing where when you message back and forth every single day with your best friend or a few people, you get this little number, this tally, like, hey, you guys haven't missed that volley, that back and forth. And students felt stressed a few years ago. And they gamified it so that, as Titania said, you log in, there's eyeballs, there's advertising. Their game, they want daily active users, which is a big tech scene thing that we all hear about. How many daily active and monthly active users do you have? And so they gamify our students in many ways so that when you open it up, you either all these different things, which is really, really scary. We're all gamified as adults. If you have perhaps an American Express or you have an American Airlines credit card and you're like, no, I only use these. I want to get points here. I only fly American Airlines. I've been to 28 states in 5 years for speeches. I only flew with a few, I knew where my points were at, my loyalty. And they gamified us adults, but guess what? It works on your kiddos. The things that we're talking about here today are not brand new. They are old school things that they're just going, whoa, how do we digitize this and apply it? Am I wrong there?
You are not wrong.
So next question I have for you is, what impact do you think TikTok has had on mental health for teens who spend time on the app?
Wow. I feel this personally because I let my son have TikTok when he was, I think, about 11, which was not a good choice. But we were in a pandemic and there were a lot of other reasons I won't go into, but I saw it firsthand deeply negatively impact him. So I also have a ton of data from what we do at Bark. Just from a screen time standpoint, if children are in front of this thing for too long, they are not moving. They are not physically active. They're not engaging all of their senses. And so it is not healthy for you to be sitting still for a long period of time just on social media. Just from we got to move, we got to do other things with our lives. Then the misinformation that is spread rapidly on TikTok, whether it's, health tips, right? Or influencers that don't seem like influencers that are peddling some hack that really isn't good for you, to political misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation. And kids, unfortunately, look to TikTok now over Google or their parents or a doctor or a teacher as somehow it's a source of truth, which is completely bonkers. So, they're being misinformed. Then let's talk about the algorithm and the addictive nature of that rabbit hole. If you, for 1 second, hover on something that could be interesting, or maybe it's just an accident, and let's say you're a child struggling with disordered eating or unhealthy body image, And then all of a sudden you're learning tips and tricks to restrict calories and get that six pack when your body is still developing. Not okay, not healthy for you. If you're struggling with suicidal ideation and depression and anxiety, and then TikTok thinks you want to see more stuff that makes you even more depressed and even more anxious, or gives you misinformation about that sort of thing. Again, I just saw today a report from the Washington Post about extreme graphic violent images being shared across all the social media platforms, and just what that sort of exposure does to children to desensitize them. Again, very damaging. I mean, I could go on, but the TLDR, or the summary, is it is not healthy. It is not healthy. Short doses, supervised doses, fine, but it is not healthy.
Couldn't agree more. Now, for those of you parents who are listening or watching right now and you're saying, but how do I take it away? What do I do? There's a reasonable center ground that we want to approach you here with. Too much of it, bad. I want to talk about TikTok and every single app like ice cream. Think of your students like ice cream, and imagine that this, for those of you who are just listening, imagine that this mason jar that I have is 2 gallons of ice cream, or a whole gallon that you've seen in a store. Would you ever buy that, and would you give that to your kids on the couch and just say, here's a big spoon, watch Netflix, and go to town? They may not know when to stop, right? So just to be reasonable, to bring it back to we are human beings, we like to describe it like ice cream. Ice cream as a family is fun in smaller bowls. Let's enjoy this. Let's watch any screen time together can be possibly a good family moment, right? Screen time doesn't mean you're not having fun and laughing and making filters of your face and doing fun stuff. How big is that jar, or how big is that bowl with the ice cream that you're going to give your kiddos? Are you going to do it together? What is the frequency? Are you going to do it a couple times a week? Okay, that might be reasonable. Or are you going to give that 1 gallon jug of ice cream to your kids to sleep next to on their bedside right next to them? Do you think that if you did that and you had a little freezer next to your kid's bed, do you think they would know how to not leave it open and just eat it all night long and ruin their sleep and change everything about who they are? At a young age, I remember when I was at Disney, my boss, I turned 25 years old at Walt Disney Studios in the brand marketing division. And my boss she was an incredible mentor, and she left a little newspaper note one day. She would pin little things and get into the office before me. And she said, people aren't adults until 25, study shows. And I remember that was like my 25th birthday week, and she had left that. It was hilarious. We had a really good friendship, but I'll never forget that. Like, you're not really psychologically an adult until you're 25. I was a little mature, and I was mature in some ways and very immature in many others, as is every other person in their early 20s or even teenagers. So parents, if you're wondering, do I just turn it all off? Do I turn it on? The start will be as a family. You parents first download that, get to know it. How do we let your kids use the training wheels, the golf cart analogy of driving together really slowly, right?
Two tips real quick. One is, do not let your child have any app, platform, gaming, console, etc. without you navigating it first, right? Parents navigate it first. Don't let your kid be the guinea pig. Second thing is, you actually don't have to even have the TikTok app to be able to enjoy TikTok content with your kid. For example, I have a younger niece, loves dancing. Should she be on TikTok? No. We'll go to the smart TV, we'll go to YouTube, and we'll say things like TikTok dance compilation, and we'll watch it together on YouTube, so we're not feeding the TikTok algorithm.
Genius. People are downloading, because a lot of the videos you can download, and then people put them together and they put their own ads in there as well. That's a great idea. YouTube based in the US. Okay, next question. How can parents help students minimize any cyberbullying or maybe strangers chatting with them online when it comes to TikTok or really any other app?
I'll start with the bullying. First of all, we just know it's going to happen. Whether your child is being bullied, is witnessing the bullying, or is doing the bullying, it's going to happen. The rate at which cyberbullying or just bullying is taking place is through the roof. I mean, 80-90% of kids are experiencing it. So it's really just not a matter of if but when. So when it happens, if it happens to you, know you're not alone. Know that you can report it. Know that you can report it anonymously. Know that it gets better. Know that you can take a screenshot and document the abuse and then block. Know that hurt people hurt people. So while the things that are being said to you are terrible, know that the person behind them probably has some of their own issues and perhaps was maybe even bullied themselves. So that's bullying if you're being bullied. If you are the bully, I'm sad and I'm sorry, and I hope you stop. Kindness is key, and there's probably not enough time to dig into that today. And then if you're witnessing bullying, please, please stand up. If more people would stand up for the person being bullied, we'd probably have less of it. So I just encourage all kids to be an upstander, stand up to bullying. Okay, so with regards to predators, it's interesting we're talking about TikTok. Less than a week ago, I used the trending teen filter on TikTok to show myself, but myself as a teen and then myself as my age.
For everybody listening right now, there was a split screen and it was vertical video. And towards the top, you turned a filter on that was live and you were speaking the same person. The top one made you a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, and the bottom one, I saw this, and the bottom one was you, which you look lovely, you look youthful to begin with, but you don't look 16, right. Let's be honest.
Yeah. No, I'm 42, I will own that, happy with it, thankful for 42 years on this planet, and I'm not 16, and I shouldn't look 16. But if I were a predator, I could take that TikTok filter, crop it, and just have it so that it's the 16-year-old section of me and communicate with children. And there are so many problems there, but that particular video garnered over 1.1 million views on Instagram, and it's still blowing up because so many people were shocked. They're like, what? This exists? Yes, it exists. It has existed for a long time, and it is not just TikTok. And so what kids need to know is that even if the person they are talking to looks like their age or seems really nice or sounds really nice and complimentary, if they don't know them in real life, if they don't actually go to school with that person, be wary. Do not share PII, that's personally identifiable information. Do not send photos. Do not send nudes. Do not send anything that you would not send to your grandmother. Do not share address, name, where you play sports, where you go to school. Share nothing. Share absolutely nothing with the person on the end of the line. If somebody is very complimentary or very controlling, that's a red flag. Do not be afraid to share with a trusted adult what is happening, whether it's a parent, a caregiver, your doctor, your pediatrician, or your school counselor. It is not your fault. It is never, ever, ever a child's fault. Even if you as a child maybe have sent something that you later regret. It is not your fault. You're a child. You have support, and there are adults that will fight for you to help make sure you are safe and to help put the tricky people or predators away. And in fact, two final things on that. One is the FBI, as recently as January of 2022, released a public statement about the staggering rise in sextortion amongst children, where predators are blackmailing, extorting children for photos and money. It's such a big deal that the FBI put out a notice. It takes a lot for the FBI to put out a notice. So there's that. Second thing is, I think just as early as yesterday, very recently, depending on when you're hearing this, NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, released this amazing app called Take It Down. Because so many children have, unfortunately, have nude or explicit media, photos, video about them out on the internet, either willingly or against their will, and they now want it gone. And NCMEC can now help you take that down. So make sure you pay attention to the NCMEC Take It Down platform, and you can work to get that media removed. But don't share it in the first place.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Okay, last question for you. What kind of dialogue should parents and educators be having with their students to find a balance with screen time and TikTok use?
You know what I think would be compelling is almost like what they did with us in health class, back in the day, where they would say, don't smoke cigarettes. And you're like, okay, but I see everybody doing it, so how bad can it be? Well, then they would show you a picture of a smoker's lung and a non-smoker's lung. And then you realize, oh, that's what happens. So let's talk about screen time and TikTok. Let's show MRI scans of people's brains. people's brains that have maybe consumed drugs or alcohol and people's brains who have been on TikTok for too long, and see how the pleasure center of the brain is lit up in the same way, and how sometimes social media can even be more addictive than certain drugs and substances. That is a staggering example. Then let's show these kids what happens if you don't move your body, you sit still too long. Like literally what happens with your heart rate and your blood pressure. Show just the science of sitting. Outside of everything that we've talked about, there's some actually very tangible, tactical reasons why it's just not good for you, because we're humans and we're meant to move and we're meant to interact in real life and engage all of our senses, not just our visual and auditory and then our tactile.
I want to thank you, Titania Jordan from Bark Technologies here today. Where can people go to learn more about Bark?
Sure. Really easy. You go to bark, like a dog barks, .us. Not .com, but bark.us.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching here today. At smartsocial.com, you can go get a free subscription from us to try it out for a few days, and it will give you access to all of our 54 live events all year long with different flavors, all the different apps that we're looking at that are most popular. This summer is ChatGPT. We are diving into it. I think it's in April. We're diving into it and showing you how it can actually be good for a family, fun for a family. Avoiding the internet, thinking it's a fad is probably not going to be the best fit. Putting your head in the sand. We got a lot of really cool stuff. A lot of psychologists, therapists, counselors, and tech nerds who are going to be in there teaching us how we can use these types of tools as a family and not be overwhelmed. We'll see you all very soon. Thanks for watching and listening to the SmartSocial.com podcast. And thanks for Bark. Titania, you're awesome. Thanks for coming out today. Have a great day, everyone. And remember to keep it light, bright, and polite. Your kids are watching. We'll see you soon. Have a great day.